Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how to make shepherd's pie from scratch. The first step to making the shepherd's pie is to prepare your ingredients. First, I'm going to dice half of a medium-sized yellow onion. I like to use the yellow onion in this dish because it won't turn to mush while we're browning it in the skillet and then also baking it in the oven. The starch content in the onion will allow it to keep its form while still having a good strong onion flavor for the dish. If you want, you could replace this with a white onion, though it might have a stronger taste. Next, peel and dice 4 medium-sized potatoes. Peeling the skin off the potatoes will help us have a silkier texture in the mashed potatoes that will go on top of the ground beef. I'm using gold potatoes for this recipe. You could choose to use russet potatoes or baking potatoes instead. However, I prefer the taste of the Yukon Gold potatoes. And I also think these will hold up better to boiling and mashing and then also baking in the oven. Similar concept as picking the onion for the recipe. Dump the diced potatoes into a pot of boiling water over the stove, then cover and let these boil until they're fork tender. I stir these occasionally just to check that nothing's sticking together. In a skillet, I melt a tablespoon of butter over medium-high heat. Then once this is melted, I add in the onions. I let the onions cook for about a minute, and then I add in 3 cloves of garlic. After the garlic is cooked for about a minute, then I'll dump in the ground beef. I use 93% lean, 7% fat ground beef because I'm not going to drain the skillet after the beef is done cooking, and I don't want the final baked dish to be too runny. I work the ground beef to break it up and make sure everything evenly cooks until it's fully browned and there's no pink left. While the ground beef is cooking, I check my potatoes and find that they're fork tender and ready to mash. I drain the potatoes over the sink and then return the drained potatoes back to the same pan. Then I add 2 cloves of garlic, salt and pepper to taste, 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of butter, and I forgot to film it, but I also add a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Then I mash the potatoes and all the ingredients together. You can add more or less milk to get the desired consistency of mashed potatoes that you like. Once the ground beef is nearly done cooking, I add 2½ tablespoons of tomato paste, a teaspoon of rosemary, and a teaspoon of thyme. Then I add 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. The last seasoning I add is a 1/4 teaspoon of celery salt. If you don't have celery salt, you can just use regular salt. Then I stir together all the added ingredients to combine it well with the beef. Now that the beef is fully cooked, I've decreased the heat on the stovetop to medium-low heat so that the meat won't burn while I'm adding the rest of the ingredients. Now I add 2 tablespoons of flour and toss this to coat the meat. This will form the base of the gravy that we're about to create when we add liquid. Once the meat is coated, I add in a 1/2 cup of beef broth. Finally, it's time to add in all the vegetables. I use peas, carrots, and corn. I think they add great flavor and texture to the total dish, but you could add more or fewer vegetables to this if you want. The total mix of the 3 vegetables that I use totaled to about 2 cups worth. So whatever vegetables you're using, you can add about 2 cups to your meat mixture. Stir everything to combine and then finish off the mix with 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Pour the base of the shepherd's pie into a baking dish. I'm using an 8x8 Pyrex glass pan. However, metal or ceramic pans would work fine as well. I'm pouring this left-handed so you can see easily from the angle of the camera, so please excuse the few that I spill outside the side of the pan. Press down the base of the shepherd's pie with a flat spatula so you can have a good foundation to put the mashed potatoes on top of. Then place the mashed potatoes on top of the meat mixture and press these down flat as well. Finally, sprinkle some Parmesan over the top of the mashed potatoes, then place this in the oven at 415 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes or until the top starts to brown. Once the shepherd's pie is done baking, remove it from the oven and allow it to cool for about 10 minutes before cutting it. This will allow the juices to thicken. Once your shepherd's pie has cooled, spoon it out and serve it warm. Thanks for watching this video on how to make shepherd's pie. Let me know how it turned out for you in the comments below, and as always, like and subscribe to see more content.